My name is Adi, and in this video I will be sharing the summary of all that I remember from all the different guides that we have in creation who shared with me information about Ascension. And I often get updates, big updates, so kind of like flying into cosmos and taking a look at our beloved planet Earth to see the big picture. And so again, this is all in the video. And I never actually ever ask anyone to share my videos with anyone, but I thought this one, if you have friends who are curious about Ascension and want some really valuable information of what is to come, what is happening, what has happened, and our role, why we are here and how we can assist, then please do share this video. Thank you. Unfortunately, I cannot record the mantras because then I can't post on YouTube, but it's so beautiful. And just knowing the power, and, you know, like before this event, I went outside and I connected with the earth, of course, you know, barefoot. And I was just singing mantras as well, because you never know if that's the time when something magical happens. And so always expect magic to unfold. And so I wanted to kind of review this ascension process that seems to be ongoing, but not complete. And I know it's good to get some guidance. So all the guidance, I wrote it all down today, actually, and I know I missed a lot of it too, but I wanted to write down all the guidance that was directly given to me in this lifetime, directly from the most reliable sources, not other humans, but actually directly from Mother Earth, directly from Divine Mother, and directly from the silent watchers who are overseeing this process in other dimensions, but looking back at us. And so I just made a few bullet points, and hopefully, I know you've heard it all, but it's okay to put it all again and again into kind of a story. And I'm recording this, I will be posting this on YouTube as well, so that we know what it is that's happening on planet Earth. And so these are my bits and pieces that I remember, like, you know, really, truly and genuinely, and what was given to me as well. And so, and sorry, Claudia's trying to get into the meeting. And so let me see. Anyone knows the passcode for the meeting? Claudia's trying to get in. I would have to open it. If anyone knows the passcode, okay, thank you so much, Ramina. I'm gonna put it in. 1, 5, 5, 6. All right, thank you so much. Awesome. Okay, and so, you know, a lot of people are getting a lot of information, and I can only speak about what I know, but I want to say that, for example, when I made the video, the Cherokee Message to Humanity, which was given to me really miraculously by the guides and Mother Earth herself, then when I posted the video, Patricia actually responded to the video, and to me, when Patricia says something is that way, then it is so. And so I want to say, you know, it's not just me saying it, it's actually approved by the big boss. And so here it is. And again, forgive me, you've heard it all, but I just wanted to like go through it all again, because I know that you and me are here for this. And so are we succeeding? I want to know, you know. So I remember coming to this world from another galaxy, and I remember being in the center of a galaxy with my family on a different planet, really the center of this amazing illuminated world. Everything was just bright light. And we were together looking at this very distant planet that is the Earth. And I knew that I was going to go to the Earth, and my family came with me to what I call the edge of our own planet. And we just looked down, and they said, okay, you're going on this mission, please do not mix with humans. This was exactly, you know, it's funny because this is exactly what they said. And so then I was born, and I remember when I was born, I just had a memory with me, and this memory was like a very big memory, and it haunted me as a, you know, newborn, small, you know, toddler, child, all of it, whatever you want to call it. And so my mom, she would put me in a room where I would be alone, and I was able to perceive things even though I was in a newborn body. And what I was perceiving every single night for many years of my very early childhood, before I could even talk, was that these rainbow beings would enter through the window, and I would watch them. And then suddenly I got super hot, like I was burning. I remember like discomfort of just being on fire. and these beings would take me out of body. We did not really communicate with any words, but they were all rainbow beings. And we would go together every single night. I mean, every single night. It was really uncomfortable, to a destroyed planet. And this planet was completely destroyed by what I perceived to be some kind of explosion. Everything was melting. Rocks were melting. All sand was melting. Surface was melting. And everything was just horribly destroyed and melting. And me and my friends, that's what I would call them, we would sit down on the surface on the planet, and we would not even like say anything. We would just sit there super, super sad every single night. Now imagine years of this. It gets really uncomfortable. The thing is that suddenly I started to see other things, and I started to see what we call today Mars. And I saw how Mars was also destroyed, and I saw how things melted on Mars. And then I saw all the beings coming from Mars. And I saw how many beings came from Mars to planet Earth. And I don't think that I was one of them, but I just saw how beings were coming after Mars got destroyed to Earth. And this is interesting because, you know, as a kid, I grew up in Czechoslovakia, no internet, no books, no stories, no one knew anything. Everything was about communism. So it, to me, made sense why my guides and my divine self would want me to be born in a country where there would be no information about anything, because then you are not polluted. And so these days, we know, for example, when you look at the science, which shows us that something really did happen on Mars. And not just that, but there was another planet apparently. And again, I never learned the name of the planet, but I learned that Mars exploded and the sand was melting. Everything was melting, the rocks were melting, and this was scientifically proven. So very interesting, you know. I cannot tell you honestly which planet it is that I saw originally with my friends, because it was our home, but the home was destroyed. So I lived with pain as a kid. I remember the pain of this. And I think it's by design that our divine self wants us to have an emotion. And, you know, pain is a great propeller. Like, what happened to my home planet? And so I, you know, started to meditate when I was 13. It's again, you know, memories coming back of what needs to be done. I started to explore out-of-body travel very kind of scientifically. And so I was able to disconnect fully and completely from my physical body, to a point that we would call that death, but again, through meditation, through chanting. And that's when I was sent back into the body. And that's when this beautiful divine feminine being appeared, and she said, you need to go back and grow along the tree of life. So to me, that had nothing to do with what I was experiencing as a kid, but it gave me this new perspective. And when you disconnect yourself from the body and you get to see who you truly are, it really helps. So I had this amazingly helpful perspective at the age of 13. And so my biggest passion as a teenager was meditation, exploration of consciousness. And I remember going to high school, you know, and I had one friend, she was a Waldorf child, so Waldorfian, you know, she was open-minded, she was studying Rudolf Steiner. And so after school, we would always come to my house and we would meditate, and we would try different techniques of, you know, deep, you know, relaxation that takes you to a whole new level of consciousness. And so this passion continued, you know, and I was always guided. But in 2006, I was living in Berlin working for the government, and someone in my spiritual friend cycles mentioned to me the word ascension. And it was the first time I heard the word ascension. And it was actually in German, so it was Aufstieg, I remember. And I was really curious. I was like, what is ascension? What is Aufstieg? And so I went home. I had this really massive meditation room, you know, just violet flame kind of energy of it. And I sat down and I said to my guides, I said, I really need to know what this is all about. I know nothing about it. So this was in 2006. And so suddenly, and this was like to me the big experience. So, you know, 2006, and this person who mentioned Ascension said it was going to happen in 2012, and that's when it all started. You know, everybody's speaking about 2012. And so the guides who came to me were the guides I knew from my childhood, and that was the Hopi people. So Native American Hopi people. And they are not Native American really, but they actually are star beings who embody on this planet in the physical reality as the Hopi people, you know, kind of Arizona, Sedona and north of Sedona, all that area, so very sacred. But they didn't come, you know, from this civilization. The Hopi people actually came originally to planet Earth. And they were part of the civilizations that we call Mu, and also part of the civilization that we call Atlantis. So they experience all of it. That's why they have some amazing prophecies and stories about what happened at the end of Atlantis, what happened at the end of Mu. And so I was for the first time visited by the Hopi people when I was 4 years old. And I received this massive, activation from my grandmother, which was the Hopi person that I don't know at all in this lifetime as my grandmother. But of course, we are star families. And so she is my grandmother. And she gave me this amazing guidance for this lifetime when I was 4 years old. So in 2006, the Hopi people come to me and they said, okay, you wanted to know about Ascension, so let us show you. And so they took me out of body, which is, the way that I travel. And I was so blown away. We came to a place that was a Stargate. And this is the first time I've seen a Stargate in my life. It was nothing, it's not science fiction. It is actually real. And I came from the Earth. We went to a Stargate, and it was almost like leaving a reality behind. And as we moved through the Stargate, we were able to actually enter what I call the true reality. And so I realized we humans here don't live in a true reality. There is what people call the veil. There is something that is preventing us from seeing true cosmic reality. That's why we don't see, so much at all. And this was to me so interesting, and so we are behind the Stargate, and behind the Stargate, you can see things as they truly are, and you see what we are part of. You don't see the solar system the way that we see it here. You don't see cosmos the way we see it here. You see everything as divine reality. And this was amazing. Again, first time I've seen this, and it required going through the Stargate. And so, we telepathically communicate with my guides. And so it's instantaneous knowing of everything that they tell you. And so they pointing at things. And I'm blown away because I see there are so many more planets than we know. So, of course, many more beings than anyone can imagine even. But I saw that we are part of a system. And this is so interesting. So I saw so many more planets, all inhabited, and these planets are all part of a system. Now, I cannot tell you if it's a universe, if it's a world, if it's something that is but I do believe it is a universe, because uni means one, and we have multiverses, but this was looking into just one body within the cosmos. And so I see this incredible force that you will recognize when you see it. And I say her actually as this amazing cosmic dragon serpent. And she moves in 2012. And they were showing me, 2012 Ascension. And they see how this cosmic serpent moves through all the planets within that system. And then I watched her, and it was unbelievable to watch this. And then she moved up. She moved her body simply up as she was lifting all worlds at once. But when she did it, she turned into actually a dragon, because now she was flying. She was no longer a serpent. And so from this amazing serpent came the dragon. But I'm looking at her and I'm saying to myself, this is cosmic DNA. She is really what you would say cosmic DNA that looks like a serpent dragon. Unbelievable. So that was my 2006. Then the next thing that happened was years later, like a major remembrance. And it was in 2019 in August. Now in August, that we have the Lion's Gate that often opens us up as humanity to whole new light, information, consciousness. And so in 2019, my husband and I, we were in Encinitas. And Encinitas is the place where Yogananda has his hermitage. And so we like to go so that we can meditate and, experience the hermitage again and again. And so that night, 2019, August, suddenly, it was this big remembering, like it happened to me in the middle of the night. And it was like, you remember everything about that you need to remember. And I remembered the end of Atlantis. but not only as like a memory. I actually had to revisit the entire event of the end of Atlantis, like the last day, you know, when the big flood comes, the tsunami takes us all down. And so, you know, I've shared this many times, but the thing was that in that memory, the biggest emotion was the failure of this, you know, civilization. And so I remember when we died, basically, when we were taken out of body to go back to the creator. And I just remember making that promise with all of us who came out. And we promised that one strange thing. And we said, we will go back, send us back immediately. We will go back and make sure that Mother Earth will never suffer like this again. And so, you know, that was 2019. Now, it was in August. Now, the strange things that started to happen, of course, October 2019, for those of you who remember what happened to our civilization here with what we call COVID. Yogananda visited me. He doesn't often visit me these days, like where he would come in his body and visit me completely, you know, physically. But he visited in October 2019, and he says, Adi, things will start changing on planet Earth now. And what will change is that the human genome will be purified. It will be cellular purification. You will see it happen. It's going to be big. So this was really, really interesting because, you know, things started to change in October 2019. So as we entered 2020, oh my gosh, this is like the most multidimensional year that I have lived through. And I think you too, because suddenly the earth started to speak to us. And I want to see what Deborah is sharing. I want to actually click on it so I can watch it later. Thank you. Okay, perfect. Thank you. I haven't seen what Patricia shared yet.
And today is the 20th.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for that. And so 2020, it was the most multidimensional year, I think, for all of us, especially if we are open to different perceptions. And it was like unbelievable. So I started to see into the earth. I started to communicate with the earth, and the earth was speaking, and she was giving me information almost every day. And one of the big informations I received from her, word by word, is the Cherokee message to humanity, which I then recorded with a Cherokee grandmother to make it more interesting. But the thing was that the earth said specifically, and this came directly from her, I started to see inside her. I was able to see actually the core. I was able to see all the energies within the earth. I saw how there is serpentine energy within the earth. And I suddenly started to know everything about like the past of the earth and the future of the earth. And it was just her communicating. And I think she was doing that to everyone on this planet anyway. But so she told me that we will go through a very big planetary change, and that this change will be absolutely positive, and that it will not be what we experienced before. And she said that part of it will be that the axis of the earth will become straight again, no more tilted. She said she will restore her original rainbow body, which is different magnetosphere. She said she will be struck several times by cosmic energies. I really don't know what she really meant, because it looks to me like something strikes the earth several times. She told me the solar flare was going to come, and it was going to be massive, rewiring our nervous system, rewiring our perception. Interesting thing she told me. She said we live in a reality that is a dream within a dream, that the cosmic dream is one big dream. It's a beautiful dream, but within that beautiful cosmic dream, which is the dream of the creator and the dream of Divine Mother, is also a sub dream. And that's our little nightmare here on planet Earth. And she said that dream within the dream will be ending. Now she gave me this incredible information, and she said that the dream within the dream is coded with zeros and ones. So binary code, 0101, blah, blah, blah. But she said the real dream is not coded with zeros and ones. She said the real dream is actually coded with a multitude of codes, and all from 0 to 9. Now, you know, I'm not a scientist, but this is exactly what she told me. She said when the solar flash comes, it will end the binary code, and we will go into the multitude of code, which will awaken us all from that kind of little nightmare here, which has lasted since the earth tilted. She took me to the past of the earth, and she said when the earth tilted last time, that broke the electromagnetic field. It also created this sleepness. We all fell asleep. And it was instantaneous falling asleep. She took me back to when it happened. I could experience it myself. It was like split seconds falling asleep, but we kept on living, you know. So since that time we live, but we are asleep. And so the true awakening is not just the little awakening that we call here, you know, I'm awake, you know. No, the big awakening is going to come, and it's going to be this recoding of reality. So then we will stop seeing all the broken bits and pieces that were binary codes, and we will truly go into out of this. Maybe some people call it simulation, I think possibly, but definitely we will be waking up from this. So she was giving me the solar flash experience again and again. I think it was like 4 times. And every time this solar flash would run through me, I realized it's rewiring my brain. It's rewiring my nervous system. So I would wake up, and, you know, it happened always in the middle of the night, and the solar flash would come, and it was just rewired. It was painful almost, but I saw what's happening. And she showed me how when the Earth lost her axis, when the Earth tilted last time, every single one of us also came out of balance with our own nervous system, with the brain structure, with the glands. Everything became kind of dormant and dysfunctional. And so we are now being returned to a completely different body operation. And part of it is having different brain, part of it is having different nervous system, part of it is also having different glands, meaning the glands will work. And so everything is changing right now. And many of you follow Amanda Lawrence. I just saw her post this morning. I don't follow anything at the moment, but actually I saw on YouTube, she posted and I read it, how she's being rewired right now. And she's really feeling the brain being rewired. Part of it is that we will become balanced again. And a big part of it too is using both hands equally. And so you can already, you know, help yourself by doing that. You can help yourself by doing many wonderful things like drinking a lot of water, doing some chanting, some singing, grounding, and all of that, you know, but that's not what I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to say all of this is happening within us. And so the brain has to reconnect the right and left, because it is the mother and the father within us. The body has to reconnect right and left hand, because it is the mother and the father within us. The imbalance we've been living with is the imbalance of the divine feminine and divine masculine. And so just a few more minutes before we go into our amazing meditation, which I tested all out last night. So I was meditating all night last night. And so in January 2021, beginning of January, I was kind of disappointed, because I really thought that Ascension was going to be complete with this with the solstice in 2020, but it wasn't. Things changed so much. Our etheric, you know, our ether became different, but my beings came to me on the 8th of January, again, unforgettable dates, you know, and on the 8th of January, they took me out of body. And they took me again, you know, beyond the illusion. They took me into cosmos, where you can see the Earth, very distant, you know, tiny little dot. And we watched what will happen and unfold. Now, again, I don't know how much of this already happened or not, but I know that it, again, is not complete. Because if it was complete, we're not going to be perceiving the binary code here, and this reality would not be distorted. And so from the silent watchers, that's the best way I can call them, they observe the entire planet. They observe everything that's happening here. And they showed me a few things. And they said, you know, it's all telepathic kind of knowing, again, no words are being exchanged, that actually we need to dissolve completely the old planetary grid. They showed me how our pyramids that we have, they are not really active anymore, but they used to be. And that actually the civilization built the pyramids because they wanted to maintain a healthy magnetosphere, healthy electromagnetic field. They wanted protection for the earth. But, you know, the system became completely dormant. And they showed me that this grid that we have here is actually holding the illusion, which is kind of being televised to us. So we are all plugged into a TV channel, and we all call it collective reality and personal realities, but it's a kind of like a TV channel that needs to switch off. And the planetary grid has everything to do with this TV channel. Now, they showed me something totally crazy. I don't often speak about it. When they showed me where suffering is coming from. And I always thought we are responsible for our own suffering, but I saw something that was actually pretty unethical. I saw a program that is being actually sent to the Earth from a place within the system. And it runs kind of as if you took a planet and you said, oh, I want this planet to be the transmitter of suffering to planet Earth. And so it runs as a program through our reality here, and people tap into it, and the program runs through people, and then they experience suffering. So I thought this was crazy. It was beyond Saturn to me, but maybe it was technical. It was technology that was actually unethical technology. And it was not just cosmic energy. It was actually something that I think someone put in place to keep humanity in a diminished place. And I was able to see it. It was really crazy. And I do enjoy the Archaics channel. I listen to it sometimes, because that guy definitely, he studied all the different books, and he came up with the same idea that this is kind of a simulation. All I can tell you what I know is that this planetary grid serves as a transmitter of distorted reality that we all are part of. And that suffering is not only what we create, but also something is being sent to us so that humanity suffers. Didn't like it. So it is absolutely possible what people call it the 3D overlay. I just don't know it as that. And so these silent watchers said to me, Adi, we really need you to sit down for 33 days. You need to just sit down with us. We'll come for 33 days, and we will be creating this technology, which will be called 33 codes. The codes themselves, as I always say, it's got nothing really with the information in the book. It's the energy of the book. And they said that there will be a day when they will be using this book to run very, very high frequencies, high energies into the planetary grid. So kind of like what Patricia speaks about, what the Elohim did, putting these new, crystals within the grid so that they can run these new energies, new information. And I will be redesigning the 33 codes. The reason for it is because I want Claudia's art to be in it only. And so it's also, how things unfolded. And so it will be redesigned soon. And I'm so grateful for Claudia, who created this beautiful activating art as well. The thing is that, there's a lot of interference, of course, to this whole process, because you can imagine, we've been part of something that interfered with human beings, and it still wants to keep on interfering. And so I just want to leave it at that. And so with that, the silent watchers said, okay, the Earth will receive 3 big impacts of energy from cosmos. Again, I don't know in which form, but it definitely looked like the Earth would be hit and hit and hit. And every time the Earth was hit, as I saw it, a layer of the Earth peeled off, and then different timelines merged. And then again, something peeled off until we ended up with actually the inner Earth, maybe even what we call the sun within the Earth, the core of the Earth. And suddenly from that level of our Earth, a whole new reality emerged, and that was the new Earth. And then the being said, this is the completion. This is when it's complete, when the Earth is the Earth becomes the core. The core becomes the Earth. Very interesting. And so that's pretty much it. There's a lot more that happened, but to me, this is, there was one more thing that I wanted to mention, and then we'll meditate. And the last one was that I was taken into the future. But when I was taken into the future, I was like traveling, out of body into the future with my guides. And then I realized that actually the future seems to be the present. And I know this is the confusing part. I realized that we are time travelers, and that when we find an event that didn't work out so well, then we send these time travelers into the past, and they change the past so that the future is altered and so that the future is beautiful. And so this was so interesting to me. And again, I don't know all the answers to this, but as we traveled into the future, we traveled into 4 different options for planet Earth. And this was kind of, I think, last year. So, I visited 4 futures at that time, and 3 of them didn't end so well because humanity just totally disconnected from nature, disconnected from their own body, disconnected from the true meaning of pleasure, which I think happened quite a bit in this world, and, replaced everything with everything. And then technology kind of took over, and then humans just destroyed everything and everyone. But there was that one future that was amazing. And that was when humanity says nature is important. We need to nurture nature. Let us follow nature. Let us reconnect with nature. Let us go back to learning the useful stuff, which is about nature. Just like, the Native Americans, like the Hopi people, for example, that I work with, they all put nature first. What happened to humanity when suddenly, they disconnect from nature. And so I saw that one amazing future when humans have this opportunity to actually follow the path of nature. And so that's the path that led to evolution, and it led to beauty, it led to harmony, and it led to peace. And so to me, when I experienced this, then my guides and we traveled back in time. And then I realized, well, all of this already happened. These 4 futures have already happened. But we want to go back in time to change timelines. This is what's happening right here. And then it struck me, we, my friends, I believe, traveled back in time to change the future of humanity. And so to me, suddenly it's like, oh my gosh, the picture is so big. I'm so glad that I feel so grounded in my being, because otherwise it would be so overwhelming. But yes, so I do believe that, my original coming from another galaxy is actually coming to change the past so that the future can be the one where we actually choose Mother Nature. And so, it is her who's going to be changing us. It is her who is changing us. The Wingmakers, for example, same thing. And so I remember, a lot of other things, but I thought this would be useful just to kind of recap and to say how important it is that you are here on this planet. How important it is what you choose every single day, how you spread the message, how important is that, and that the message is not really so complicated. It is, let us choose nature and be loving, because nature is loving, and she wants us to be loving with her, and she will actually then reflect it back to us. And so wonderful, thank you. And with that, my friends, let us go into that divine self. I was babysitting my granddaughter last night, and so I was awake from 2 till 5:30, and so I just listened to Oren. So I can tell you, it's going to be amazing. The journey we have ahead of us here with Oren is so amazing. We are truly letting go of the human self, which created all the problems. We are disconnecting from the grid, the distorted one, and we are connecting to higher dimensional being and way of being, and that is our divine self. And so now that the divine self is here, let us connect. Oh yeah, I saw what Judith Kusu posted as well. Very cool. Thank you. And so today, let us do something so amazing. Let us say yes to receiving this amazing activation to our divine self, where the divine self says, are you willing to let go of that small mind? Are you willing to let go of the distorted mind? The only way that we can do this is through our divine self, because the brain itself is not really working so well with that distortion. It's kind of random computer recycling stuff. We don't want that. We want our divine mind. And so I do recommend always putting your hands together at least a few minutes a day to reconnect the divine feminine and masculine within, so that you can actually reconnect the right and left hemisphere. And so I'll stop recording. So you see, Oren is teaching us something amazing, to switch gears. So, it's up to us to switch gears. Divine Mother said she opened the cage, and the cage is open. And so, this is how we get from the binary code into our multitude of codes. So this is once again from this album. I always include it in the email so that if you decide to buy it, you can just go to Oren and Daben. It's only $89. And, for example, I use it all the time now. And so not only here with you, but, when I'm driving. So for example, a 90-minute drive, you can squeeze 3 beautiful meditations with Oren. And if you are up at night, like I was last night, you can listen to the whole thing and just meditate. You can be laying down to make yourself comfortable. Of course, it doesn't always have to be sitting up. It still works. And so you will notice in this course that we are doing that we are really expanding divine presence into all that we are. Isn't that amazing? So now if you have some lower human thoughts, all you have to do is that you expand the light, you let it burn through all things. You know, as Patricia says, the light of God is always victorious. And one thing I forgot through my, Ascension story, one of the things that the Council of Light told me when I had a meeting with them is how important it is to actually be on this earth right now, anchoring the light of divine that is within our hearts into the earth. And so that's why we have our practice. Last thing, which this is all about, we are freeing the mind from the old matrix, whatever you want to call it. This was track number 4. We're just going one by one, not skipping any, because we are going through this amazing liberation. We deserve to be free, but the freedom in the mind, that is a huge deal. Absolutely. Because when we realize who we are, big deal is realizing that one thing, we are eternal beings. And so the fear of death on this planet is one of the big fears holding humanity back. It is a big misunderstanding. No one wants to experience suffering as far as I know. And so people prefer how they're going to leave this planet. And yet it doesn't really matter, because if you know who you are, then even in a moment of suffering, let's say, you know how to disconnect from the suffering within yourself by going into your divine self. And you actually have the power to completely detach to a point like Yogananda did, like Iceman, for example, does, right? Where the mind becomes so divine that there is really no room for anything else. Personally, I find out-of-body travel to be a great skill. Because imagine if the situation here is not what you like it to be, you also can just go for a little journey somewhere else and come back in a whole new, energetics. And so great adventure unfolding here with you. And so we will be letting go of all fear, of course, rewiring the big humanity's fear of death, so that we are able to move through dimensions with ease. So thank you so much. And today we are repeating, and it's going to be at 4 p.m. Pacific. And tomorrow again, the same time, same place, 11 a.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Pacific. So thank you so much.